Hello, YouTube. This is Chris here, Correctional Services. Uh, Today's video is going to be quite a bit of different things, but all of it proves NASA's liars and they fake everything and about CERN and the biblical flat Earth and all that. So we'll come back to this here. The only reason I have it up right now is because if I would have hit it on here, excuse me, uh, with my hotkeys, it would have skipped the video. But I tried to record this the day before the solar eclipse, and then I tried to record it again yesterday, and it was real super long. Time I got through breaking everything down, even though each video is small. And then those are all videos I got to get made. But then I went back and edited it, and I'm glad that I did because all the audio was echoing in the videos. These videos here, they were echoing real bad. And my mic somehow got switched in OBS, so it wasn't playing right. So anyway, I'm gonna play this here because this is one of them. There's so much truth in the Matrix, but yeah, this is pretty much the truth. I mean, just go read my comment section and you'll see what I'm talking about. And when I deal with this stuff in real life, but outside of the computer, outside of media. Anyway, as you see, there's an ad playing on this, so YouTube better not hit me for copyright, but they probably will.
The Matrix is a system, Neo. That system is our enemy. But when you're inside, you look around, what do you see? Businessmen, teachers, lawyers, carpenters, the very minds of the people we are trying to save. But until we do, these people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy. You have to understand, most of these people are not ready to be unplugged. And many of them are so inert, so hopelessly dependent on the system, that they will fight to protect it. Were you listening to me, Neo? Or were you looking at the woman in the red dress?
I was...
Look again. Freeze it.
This isn't the Matrix.
No. It's another training program designed to teach you one thing. If you are not one of us, you are one of them.
What are they?
Sentient programs. They can move in and out of any software still hardwired to their system. That means that anyone we haven't unplugged is potentially an agent. Inside the Matrix, they are everyone, and they are no one.
We have survived by hiding from them, by running from them. But they are the gatekeepers. They are guarding all the doors, they are holding all the keys, which means that sooner or later, someone is going to have to fight them.
Someone.
I won't lie to you, Neo. Every single man or woman who has stood their ground, everyone who has fought an agent has died. But where they have failed, you will succeed.
Why?
I've seen an agent punch through a concrete wall. Men have emptied entire clips at them and hit nothing but air. Yet their strength and their speed are still based in a world that is built on rules. Because of that, they will never be as strong or as fast as you can be.
What are you trying to tell me? That I can dodge bullets?
No, Neo. I'm trying to tell you that when you're ready, you won't have to.
We got trouble.
Essentially AI, and the whole bait and switch, like the girl in the red dress, look over here, don't look over here kind of thing. So let's go ahead and move on. Oh, and YouTube's been taking my subscribers from me, and I finally got someone that unsubscribed from me that said that they were unsubscribing from me and they don't know why. They were subscribed to a channel like mine. So yeah, let's move on, shall we?
They are images that inspire, educate, and sometimes just make us say, wow.
Yeah.
Over the years, NASA has given us spectacular photos and renderings that reveal a colorful and mysterious universe.
No doubt. And now Chris Martinez is introducing us to two of the artists behind some of the most iconic space art in the galaxy.
In a small, bright office, working side by side,
Let's see.
Robert Hurt and Tim Pyle bring the universe to life.
What we're doing does have real science underlying it.
Robert is an astrophysicist turned artist. Tim, once a Hollywood animator, is now a
Hollywood animator, huh? So this is what I say, and there's tons of whistleblowers that's come out over the years, and said that they've painted pictures and CGI stuff and stuff like that for NASA. Even the Earth, the ball Earth that they push out, as being real. Then you got Robert Simmons, which we'll talk about in a little bit, how he admitted it's Photoshop because it has to be, the famous blue marble. So when I say, CGI cartoons and now AI, this is what I'm talking about. They admit the truth right out in their lies. They tell you what they're doing, but most people are so brainwashed, they don't want to hear it. They, like Morpheus said to Neo, they're so hopelessly dependent on the system that they will fight for it. They will fight to the death pretty much. And that's the way it is. Like I said, go look at my comment section. Most people, even that agree with me, won't comment on certain videos. They'll go comment on a post that has nothing to do with the topic and ask me questions or private message me or say they agree with me because they're so afraid of being attacked. But, stand up. Don't be afraid. Jesus said, God's son said, don't fear man for what he can do to your body, but fear God to what he can do to your body and soul. When he casting it into the lake of fire. But anyway, so let's move on.
planet illustrator. Together, they produce some of NASA's most popular images, from renderings of how planets light years away could look to actual photos of stars and galaxies captured by.
They render actual photos from NASA right out of their own mouth that are supposedly captured by the so-called equipment floating in their space.
NASA's powerful telescopes.
And this is sort of how it comes to me. And then
Many of those images.
See how that looks? And this is not the only image that you'll see within these videos that you'll see that, like, they're nothing of what NASA puts out is real until they doctor them.
Images have a dark, grainy start, but color and light reveal an astonishing glimpse of how the deepest regions of space might appear to the human eye.
what I'm trying
Might appear to the human eye. It's all trickery. It's all fake.
to do is show people sort of the broader colors that the universe has to offer.
It's a delicate blend of imagination and data. The artist.
Imagination and data, huh? So they take what you just saw, that white, that there, they take that and they imagine what they think it will look like to that. Or not what they think it will look like, what they want you to believe that it looks like.
Space might appear to the human eye.
What I'm trying to do is show people sort of the broader colors that the universe has to offer.
It's a delicate blend of imagination and data. The artists meet with NASA scientists over many drafts to ensure a planet or galaxy's look lines up with the research to make each one as accurate as possible.
I love the challenge. It's kind of like a puzzle to me of trying to create something that looks really cool within the restrictions that were given by the scientists.
It can take days, even weeks, to produce just a single image. The dazzling final results, enough to keep us all dreaming of the final frontier for years to come. Chris Martinez, CBS News, Pasadena, California.
The artists also say they have to be especially careful when it comes to illustrations of other planets to avoid colors many of us would associate with Earth, like blue for water.
See, they gotta hone it in, and you'll see when I play the Robert Simmons video, um, where he did an interview many years ago, but they got this image already that they've put out of what the Earth looks like, the fake ball Earth, the fake planets and solar systems and fake galaxies and so on. They put it out there. They get it ingrained in your subconscious. So they have to be careful not to put something in that somebody like me is going to catch and point out. But they know they've got so many people brainwashed. They're not even trying really anymore. They're putting out so much hogwash. It's not even funny. Like the water on the moon now. There's water on Mars. There's water here. There's water here, and water there. Oxygen on the moon. Oxygen there. Oxygen here. They literally say there's oxygen on Mars now when there was never oxygen supposedly before. They said there's oxygen on the moon. They never said there was oxygen before. They actually said there wasn't oxygen on the moon. Yes, they say it's very little, but don't you think you would have known all that a long time ago? So let's move on. And yes, there is oxygen on the moon, because it's here on Earth. It's under the dome. So we have oxygen. So there is going to be oxygen on the moon, and there's going to be oxygen. Well, I can't say on the sun because the sun's fire and it burns up. Fire burns up oxygen. So I doubt there's oxygen on the sun. I'm pretty sure there's not oxygen on the sun, but there is on the moon because the moon isn't hot. And so, and they are both here on our Earth. So yes, the moon does have oxygen. Again, they tell the truth without the lies. So let's go ahead and move on to this. This is hopefully it'll get copyrighted with this because it does have music playing in it. I'm going to put all the links of these videos in the description. Go check them out, watch them in their entirety. But if you want to subscribe to these channels, go ahead. I won't be subscribing to any of these channels because they put so much propaganda out from what I've seen. It's not even funny. So, but if you want to subscribe to them, you're more than welcome to.
Last week, scientists at NASA released this. The shot is compiled from data from NASA's VEERS instrument, which orbits the Earth about every 100 minutes, taking measurements of light coming off the planet. That can be translated into ribbons of imagery like this.
Like that. That is not a ball. And don't say, oh, it's more like a ball than it is a flat Earth. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's a very small section of God's biblical flat Earth that does not resemble a ball whatsoever. And it's like she said, ribbons. See them right there? So you could take a bunch of ribbons and put them in a shape similar to what you want. Doesn't make it that shape. And it definitely doesn't disprove another shape.
And then into one of these.
How does that look anything like that? But if they put that out and said we live on a ball, nobody would believe it. If that was the image they put out to everybody, the very first image, they said, this is our Earth, they would have a hard time selling the fake spinning blue magic marble.
And this is just the latest in NASA's Earth from Space album, which may be one of the most mind-expanding collections of images in human history, in my opinion. It began with a shot taken by the Apollo 8 crew.
Now, I have this picture somewhere. I got to find it. And I used Windows version of Photoshop because it's free. And all I did was I changed the contrast and the resolution and stuff like that. And there ends up being a square box. And you can kind of see it right there. See it right there? Follow my cursor. I can still see it because I know it's there. But you can clearly see there's a dark box right there. And there's also another image that I've seen that it looked weird to me. And so what I did was I did the same thing. I screenshotted it. And then I used the Windows like Photoshop kind of thing and changed contrast and stuff like that on it. And like you've seen me do in the UFO videos where I took pictures that I've taken myself and went through them and changed contrast and color and so on, brightness and stuff. And it reveals things. I didn't add things or take things out. And I got to find it. I know I got it. But it's got a box like this around the Earth as well. And it shows George Washington, which was a Freemason and Illuminati. So why would there be a silhouette of George Washington in a picture of the Earth? Think about that.
In 1968. And NASA scientist Gene Feldman says it made a big impression on him.
I think it's called Earthrise. And I remember seeing that and the stark contrast between this gray, lifeless rock that we had spent all this time and effort getting to. And here was this beautiful little shining blue and white marble that held everything that we as humans know about history.
And you got to ask yourself, why do they call it a marble? You know, and there's a really good possibility. You know what I was saying. You know when I tell you CGI and cartoonish AI now and stuff like that. That when they they actually use physical props. There's a good chance that it literally is a marble, a glass marble. And they could have very easily had one specially made to mimic the pictures that they've taken. And they use that in some of their videos and pictures to look like Earth. And if you notice, the pictures always look different. 1 minute this will look like this, and the next minute, you know, as far as like the landmass, and then this exact area on the Earth, not a different area, but this exact area on their fake ball Earth, this landmass will be like over here. I'm not talking about the clouds. The clouds change. I get it. The clouds move, even on God's biblical flat Earth. But, yeah, just keep an eye on that, guys. You'll see what I'm talking about. You know, in pictures. Go look it up. Just look up Earth, pictures of Earth, and look at them. And they're different. They change.
History, art, culture, love, everything was contained on this one little tiny dot in space. I was just so fascinated by the beauty of it and trying to understand, how did this happen? How did
Not one single star, not one single satellite, not one single, no ISS, no nothing. And don't say, oh, the ISS is behind the Earth. You couldn't see it. No sun, no moon, no light whatsoever. Just a dark background. Seems kind of suspicious to me.
does it work? Has kind of led me to do what I've done.
And for the last several decades, Feldman has done remote sensing.
Yeah, there's an old expression about some.
See, again, how, if they would just put these images out and say this is Earth without ever putting their fake blue marble out and saying that was Earth, they could not sell this as a ball.
Sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees.
That is not a problem for a remote sensing scientist. Feldman studies the Earth from space. He says it's like taking vital signs of the planet, which means working with
scientific images that maybe show ocean color or sea surface temperature or land vegetation, or those are why we do what we do, to tell us about the planet from a clinical perspective. But the other images, the beautiful ones, they resonate with people because it's our home.
In 1972,
In other words, the pictures they take of the actual flat Earth, they don't think is pretty enough. They don't think it looks pleasing enough to the eyes, God's creation. And so they doctor it up to make it look better, to make it look more pleasing to the model that they're pushing down your throat and brainwashing you to believe. And you'll hear that. They literally almost say that, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
saw our home in a new way. Apollo 17 astronauts snapped this picture. Actually, they snapped a lot of pictures.
It crystallized so much about the environmental movement at the time.
Those all look fake. Every single one of them look fake.
It gave people
But keep these in mind.
the first look at their home planet as a single entity.
In 1990, Carl Sagan made this Voyager image famous. His pale blue.
They always do this. This is another trick that they're really good at, especially with the Earth and fake planets, the fake Earth that they put out in the fake planets. They'll say, this is you. And they'll have all these pixelated image and colors and stuff. And they'll either have an arrow pointing here like this, saying, this is Earth, this is where you're at. They never zoom in, and they do, it's, very little. Not enough to make it out as the image that they're selling as the magic blue marble. Or they'll zoom it in just enough to where you can make out where they're pointing at. Because that right there, if they didn't say anything and you're just looking at it, you would think that was a pixel. Or you would think it was a star.
Dot. Here he is on Science Friday talking about it.
I thought, that's us. A motive.
And if you notice, that does not look round. That does not look like a ball Earth. You can see it. It's got like edges everywhere on it, like it's a literal pixel.
Dust in a sunbeam. And it spoke to me about the need for us to care for one another and also to preserve the pale blue dot, which is the only home we've ever known. And it underscored the tininess, the comparative insignificance of our world and ourselves.
See? Didn't zoom in all the way. Didn't even zoom nowhere close.
Then in 2002, Blue Marble 2.0. NASA's Rob Simmons made this. And
This is the Rob Simmons or Robert Simmons that I keep talking about in my videos that made the very first fake photo of the globe model, the fake blue marble.
had wide appeal too. For example, it ended up as the default background on the iPhone.
I didn't even know until I bought an iPhone and turned it on and kind of did a little happy dance.
Simmons' job is...
It's primarily taking data and making pictures out of it.
That's what this is, a composite of data sets from several different instruments translated into a picture.
Several different images by seven different images by 7 different pieces of equipment that don't look like a ball at all, and then he made it into a ball.
To us, the really cool thing was the data set. Up until that point, there was no realistic color map of the globe anywhere.
So the land layer here comes from
the Moderate Resolution Imaging Spectroradiometer aboard Terra.
And the tricky part here was the weather.
So we actually had to take clouds out.
They stashed the clouds for later, went onto the ocean. That came from an instrument that measures phytoplankton in the sea.
Where it was low, I colored it dark blue because they're low mostly.
I colored it dark blue. This is why every image they put out of Earth, even if it's a so-called live stream or a video, It looks CGI. It looks fake. It looks like a cartoon. It looks like now AI because it is. And he even admits it's Photoshop because it has to be. Watch or listen.
In mid oceans. And then where it's a little bit higher, it was like a little bit brighter green.
Then add the clouds back in.
There's a small problem with it because there's a very slight gap in between each.
This is where earlier we saw about the ribbons, the ribbon images, the little small sections of the earth that they take hovering over the flat earth surface or in the sky under the dome. They take these pictures and they got these little ribbons here like this, which is matches what you saw earlier, where it looked like kind of like a dome shape or a bow, and then they formed it into a ball.
Each orbit.
So some of those are painted on.
It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
Then
it is photoshopped, but it's has to be. Each orbit.
So some of those are painted on.
It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
And see, he knew he had messed up, but he had already spit it out that it was photoshopped because it has to be. And so he stuttered on his words, tried to see if he could fix what he just said, and he couldn't. So he finished with, it has to be. One more time for the people in the back.
In between each orbit.
So some of those are painted on.
It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
Then
there was another layer to sort of simulate the atmosphere.
And then there's this little bright spot.
It's called the specular highlight. So it's the reflection of sunlight off of water.
Those are the pieces, but you can't just slap them all together.
It just didn't look realistic. It looks kind of flat, or the clouds are sort of too see-through. So
it didn't look realistic, and it was flat. It looked flat because it is flat. It's a biblical flat earth. It's not a ball. They're telling you that they fake it. They told you in the very first video, or the second video I showed you, and in this video here, they literally fake everything. They fake their equipment being in space. They fake their spacewalks. They fake the solar systems, galaxies, and planets, and where they say the stars are, and the sun and the moon, where they say it is. It's all fake. It's all CGI, cartoon, AI images.
So I just hit Command Z a lot.
There's artistry to creating the world.
There's artistry to creating the world. The fake earth that you say, that they say you live on, there's artistry. Come on. Wake up, people.
What I imagine it to be. Unfortunately, I'm not an astronaut.
What he imagines it to be. So you're basing your belief on a spinning blue magic marble zipping through space at breakneck speed, thousands of miles an hour, that just came out of nowhere, exploded, bam, no creation, by a god, or by God. Evolution, again, no creation. You are useless. In the way NASA says, it puts it out, you're useless. You don't mean anything. By believing in their model and the way they say it was created, you are nothing but a useless monkey on a spinning blue ball through space. You have no hopes, you have no dreams, you have no feelings, you have no emotions. You are just a dumb monkey on a spinning blue ball. How can you believe the Bible and then believe NASA's model? NASA's model does not match the Bible at all. Just take the way it came into be. Just that as an example, how everything was made. The 7 days of creation, or 6 days. God rested on the seventh. Where in there does it say Big Bang? God specifically, it's laid out how God specifically created each thing at a specific time. He just didn't slap his hand and bam, there it was, Big Bang. He could have, but that's not what the Bible says. God specifically designed everything with his own hands, his own thoughts, his own wants, needs, and desires, the way he wanted it created, including humans. On NASA's model, you have cavemen, Neanderthals. That's part of the evolution. Where does it speak of that in the Bible? It doesn't. Where did Adam and Eve go? Ooga booga. I'm caveman. I'm going to bump Eve on head and drag her to cave by her hair. Where does it say any of that? Where does that match anything in that? In where God says he made Adam out of the dust of the earth, and then he saw that it wasn't that Adam was lonely. He didn't have a wife, and it wasn't good for man to be alone. And so he put Adam to sleep, took one of his ribs, which is the center part in between your ribs in the front, right where your heart is, where people, doctors don't know what they've proven. There's little spurs on both sides, and they don't know why. It looks like there's supposed to be a bone there, and doctors can't explain that. But back then, when the Bible was written, they wouldn't have known that. They wouldn't have known inside your body like that. But God put Adam to sleep, took a rib, and that would be considered a rib because it's right there connected to the rib bone. That's a rib bone. He took, and look where it's located. It's located right where the heart is. Makes sense, don't it? Why God would take a rib bone from over your heart to make you a wife. How does that match NASA's model? A loving, caring, personal God, Father, that created everything. There's no evolution in the Bible, none. And then you got NASA's pagan model that just showed up out of nowhere, no creator, no nothing. We all just started out as little organisms, and then we turned into fish, and then we turned into some stayed fish and some didn't, and some come up on Earth. They had legs and they were lizards or whatever, and then they came snakes, and then some of those didn't turn from snakes. They turned into monkeys, and then some of the monkeys didn't evolve into humans. And how can you believe that? Because when you believe NASA's model, that's what you believe, because that's what they say. And CERN is no better. CERN is actually worse in a lot of ways. But let's move on.
I've never been to space, but I've looked at these images over and over again, trying to sort of get the essence of it.
With satellite data, like this map of chlorophyll and land vegetation over time, accuracy is key, obviously, but it's also most easily deciphered as imagery, Feldman says.
Because the data volumes that we get from space now are astronomical, the only way that we can really handle this anymore is to visualize it. And no matter...
Why would you have to visualize it if you're going to space and taking pictures and videos and live streams, so-called live streams and videos and pictures that are all lies? They're emitting it. If you've got the real thing that you've taken a picture of, or a video or live stream, why would you need to imagine anything? Why would you need to create anything on a computer or in a Hollywood basement with fake props? You already have it. You took a picture of the real thing, just put that out. If they can fool you in Hollywood movies that are actually Hollywood movies, don't you think NASA could with a much bigger budget that works for the government, that are created by the government? The CIA is who created them. That's another video I got coming that I said a long time ago I got coming up. And I will get it up eventually, God willing, soon. But the CIA created NASA to do their work, and pretty much grounded them from trying to leave Earth, and wanted them to do this and take land surveys, pictures of the land and the ocean and stuff like that. And that's how they get these images. They get these images from NASA flying over, taking pictures of the biblical flat Earth, and then they form it into a ball and colorize it and add things and take things away and stuff of that nature. And then when they do videos and live streams, they use stuff like fisheye lenses, and they use stuff like CGI and different things. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on for the sake of time.
And no matter what computers we may build, the human mind and the human eye, in my mind, is still the most powerful integrator of information.
The objective here is to
The human eye and the human mind are better than what God created. Okay.
create models that accurately reflect the past so that we can predict how the planet will change in the future, Feldman says.
Or if some of those changes might be negative to the way we want our Earth to be, what can we do about it?
Simon wants to make the world better too, starting with the atmosphere.
And I'm getting results that I like, but I think it's a little bit exaggerated. So I'm working on some techniques to try to tone it down a little bit.
To make it a little more homey. For Science Friday.
Exaggerated? So
It's exaggerated. The atmosphere is even fake on their model, so you have to tone it down a little bit. Okay.
I'm working on some techniques to try to tone it down a little bit.
To make it a little more homey. For Science Friday, I'm Flora Lichtman.
So let's go ahead and move on. This video was put out 11 years ago. This video was put out 5 years ago. Okay, so in an earlier video than the 11-year video, they still say that they Photoshop everything. They CGI and fake everything. Let that sink in, people. As you see, this was made 9 years ago. CNN, Clinton News Network. Astronauts helmet takes on water during space. That's more proof that they use their buoyancy pool to fake space, is one of the things that they use. Watch.
And Terry Virts emerging into the void of space for the first time.
Welcome to EVA there, Colonel Vert.
What's that and why isn't it moving? You'll see that in a couple different things, the videos that I show you. Watch.
Thank you, Ted Wilmore. Pretty cool.
Space station renovation. So they're on the ISS, supposedly. My gosh. Look how flat that is. It don't say, oh, it's because it's just a small little spot. No, it's because they're not using a fisheye lens right there. And if you notice, all the pictures almost in videos and images that they show of like the actual Earth, the biblical flat Earth, they always keep it tight knit like this. After nearly 7 hours spacewalk, astronaut Terry Virts found water in his helmet. Water can interfere with communications and potentially disrupt breathing. You don't need a flashlight to see the water in his mask, lady.
Yeah, Terry, we can.
Look at that, right there. And you'll see it right here as well. Now, what I think's going on, what it looks like to me, is you got the shield, then you got the first bubble, and then you've got a mask, glass, and then you have a second one as well. So you got one here. You got the one that's he's actually got his head in, and the water somehow it didn't seal properly or whatever, or there's a little crack in it, and it got water inside his mask. You got water there, you got water there. And that's why it's not like where he's talking and he's breathing and not suffocating, is because it's in between the two glasses. You can clearly see it. Like you got the outside right here, you can see there's a separation in between the two right here. You got the outside, you got where the water is, and then the inside where his head is.
Good to see you. Thanks for making a ripple.
A 2013 spacewalk cut short due to a more severe water. NASA is troubleshooting the problem as it prepares a new docking state system for the International Space Station.
The greatest nation on Earth should not be dependent on any other nation to get into space.
Astronauts have been flying to the ISS aboard the Russian Soyuz, if I pronounce that wrong, I apologize, capsule at a cost of $70 million per seat. But doesn't NASA show that they are going to space all the time? Launching rockets on U.S. soil, U.S. equipment, U.S. rockets? Isn't that how we got to the moon? The fake moon landing? That was not anybody supposedly else but U.S. technology. That was the whole purpose of it, the space race, to show that we had the capability of doing this, and no one else did. Oh, that's right. They lost the technology out of their own mouth. They say that it got destroyed, and they had to rebuild it back again, and that takes time. But the technology we have now, just in our pockets with our cell phones, don't you think you could build better technology and not have to rely on so-called other countries? Come on.
Liftoff of the Soyuz rocket and the TMA-11M spacecraft.
NASA has selected Boeing and SpaceX to ferry astronauts to the ISS from U.S. soil. This is more proof of what I've said and shown. NASA, why would NASA, and now they're doing it with a tractor company as well for like a rover to go to the moon. Why would NASA spend extra money subcontracting out to have equipment built by a company that doesn't know so-called space? They have no idea. They don't have the equipment. They don't have the manpower. They don't have the machines. They don't have the parts. Unless NASA's giving it to them. But why would NASA give it to them? Their own engineers should be able to do that. Their own scientists should be able to do that. You know, that'd be like taking a bike company, a bicycle company that has done nothing but build bikes their whole life, their whole existence of their company. And then they build you a car. You give them all the parts. They build you a car with no mechanic that knows anything about vehicles on site. And then give you the car to drive. How would that make sense? Why would you do that? Why would you have a bicycle company build you a car and expect it to be safe to drive? And that's on Earth. So how much more dangerous would it be to have somebody that designs airplanes to design shuttles and rockets to fly to space, so-called space, and not have any issues, no technical issues, no every time it explodes, every time it launches, no malfunctions really, so on and so on. You get what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. So yeah, but this is why more proof. That they fake everything is because, and you gotta and look at their shuttles. Their shuttles, they're old school shuttles that they look like an airplane because they are. They were never meant to go to space, so-called space. They're meant to fly up, curve over. That's why they make that dome-like shape. Even the rockets and everything. That's one of the reasons they do that, because they know they can't. They can't get out of the Earth because of the dome. They're an airplane designed by an airplane designer and maker, and then they fly out of the view of everybody watching, just like when NASA says, "Oh, look at Mars through the telescope," and you look directly where they say and nowhere else. Of course, you're going to see their blue beam project shining in the sky. The same thing with this. They say where they're going to launch, and they have it pretty much roped off to this is the view, and then it launches. It goes in this little arch. It lands in a specific designed space or area, and then they get picked up by a specific group. It's usually they land in the ocean, and then they get picked up by a specific group that's in the Navy. As an example, look it up. That's facts. They won't admit it, but that's why they show they show retrieving the capsules. That's them showing them retrieving the capsules right after they launched, but they don't put that video out right away. They wait until they say that they're coming back, and then that's when they show you the video that they captured of the Navy picking up the capsule. That was literally there shortly after the dang thing launched. But you don't know that because they don't put that video out then. They put it out a week later, a month later, whatever. That'd be like me recording a video now and then not putting it up until a week later after I doctored it a little bit and added things in and took things out and said things over it. And then said, "Oh, I just filmed this. This is brand new footage I just filmed." You have no idea to know if that's true or not. If I've done it properly and correctly, you wouldn't know.
The first of the 4 cables securely attached.
I worked up a ladder on that one.
Manned flights are set to begin in 2017. Didn't we already do that in the 60s when we did our so-called moon landing? And all these other times before? So there was never any manned space flights by NASA. And I've seen this on NASA's website saying that their first manned space flight in 2017. And I've seen them make that same reference throughout the years since 2017. So they're telling the truth throughout the lies that all these so-called manned space flights aren't really manned space flights. They're not really going to their so-called space. They're just showing you fake images like they are. But then when they make statements like this, and you're going to say, well, that's CNN. They could have put that on there. Yeah, they could have. But again, I've seen this on NASA's own website, this statement. Then they tell you this, and most people don't question it.
Perfect. Nice work, Butch.
So let's go ahead and move on. Now, this is one here. I'm not going to play the full thing. I'm going to put this in the description box like all the other videos. Go watch it. It's in entirety. But this is essentially, this is the buoyancy pool. NASA's buoyancy pool. And it's the dive specialist talking about it. And the buoyancy pool, which I've talked about in other videos, it's the simulation of the ISS and the moon, where they always do their walks, the space and rock area, or space and rock, the dust and rock area. Okay. And she mentions that in the video. But this is what the air bubbles is what people think are UFOs. And I thought they were UFOs for a long time too. And they edit out most of them. But but now they're leaving them in more because so many people think that they're UFOs because they believe in NASA's model that things can get in and things can get out of the Earth when they can't because it's a physical hard dome, the firmament. But sometimes they used to miss them. And people would say, "Oh, that's a UFO. That's a UFO." And I thought the same thing when I believed in NASA's model. But all they are is air bubbles. But that's not really what I'm pointing out right here. Watch this, guys.
The astronauts.
You'll see this person isn't moving. Their hands aren't moving. This is bowed, like the fisheye lens. That's what gives the bow here. Okay? The only thing and only one that's moving is this guy here. The only one. Nothing else is moving except for the Earth, slowly supposed to be spinning thousands of miles an hour, but it looks like it's going, if at all, maybe 2. Like if you were to put your car in drive with your foot and take your foot off the gas and don't put it on the pedal, on the gas pedal, but you take it off the brake rather. That's what it looks like it is. But watch.
Have 6 hours to perform their task on a spacewalk, and there is a lot of people involved, so they want to.
That is so CGI and faked AI CGI stuff and fisheye lens. How do you get this scenario? And the only thing that, and you can see it superimposed onto it. That's 2 separate images that are mixed together. You can tell that so-called Earth is not behind them. But how do you get this not moving? None of this is moving. He's not moving at all. This isn't moving. None of this is moving. The only thing that's moving is this dipweed here, this astronaut, and the Earth slowly moving behind. If it's not fake CGI.
And there is a lot of people involved, so they want.
And I know you're going to point it out that this up here is moving. You'd be surprised what you can do with CGI and AI and stuff like that. They could have very easily added this on here. It looks like a strap of some kind to where it was moving. My main focus of what's weird that caught my eye is this guy not moving at all. He's like a statue. It's like a physical picture, like just a picture, not a video, with one moving object added in and a moving person added in, and then superimposed on a slow rotating Earth. Fake blue marble rotating. That's what it looks like to me. Watch it one more time.
Different tasks, replacing different things. The astronauts have 6 hours to perform their task on a spacewalk, and there is a lot of people involved, so they want to make.
When I first saw that, I was like, what? I can't say when I first saw it, because the first time I saw it, I didn't catch that astronaut not moving and any of that. But then when I went back and watched it again not watched it again, but went to record it, I saw it. I was like, what? That astronaut's not moving. What the heck? And I was like, oh, heck no. Yeah. More proof it's fake. This one, by NASA themselves, when was this one put out? This was put out a year ago. So a fairly new video. See, her hair clearly looks like it's being pulled right here. And her hair, the way it's awkwardly moving. But if you notice, the way they're standing, okay, they always stand like this, like they're hiding, like they're trying to hide where the harness goes. That's why they hold their arms that way very awkwardly. Look how, and like this, you can clearly see the harness right here. You can see the wedge straps. You can see right here, you can see it pulling up. You can see it pulling up there. You can kind of see his pulling up here. You can see his pulling up. You can see where his is being pulled up as well. again, the way they puff out like this, when they don't have their arms like this, they puff out. You can clearly see. You can see all their waist is all the same. Like I said, you can see where the leg straps, they all have the same folds and bends in their pants because they're waist straps. This is all CGI. This is all green screened. For the most part, all this stuff is green screened. You'll see a lot when you watch a lot of their videos and so-called live streams and so on like that, so forth. You'll see a bunch of stuff that just disappears. They'll disappear. They'll fade out when they're going around a building, around a wall. They'll fade out before they get out of the frame. Things will be hanging up on walls or missing. Like, see how half this keyboard is missing? Where is this this part of the keyboard? Like it's been cut off. Like literally. Like it was just a picture superimposed on it. There's part of the keyboard right there completely missing. You can see where it's cut. You know. But yeah, let's keep watching here.
Well, that's a really good question. You know, I've got a little over 200 days in space, and let me tell you that failures happen. And the one thing I learned is that the best way to react to a failure is to be ready for it in the first place. And everything we do up here involves a lot of planning and having backup systems and methods to handle things. When I first arrived at the space station on the Soyuz, our automatic dock.
See how she keeps messing with her hair? Because it itches. If you put a bunch of hairspray in your hair, ask any woman that uses hairspray, especially back from the 80s and 90s. And I've used hairspray in my hair as well when I was younger, because my grandma used to have that Aqua Net stuff that could pretty much was like concrete, would hold down anything. But that's why she keeps scratching her hair. She has too much hairspray in her hair.
System failed, and we were trained and equipped to bring it in manually, and we did that. And more recently here, when I had Steve Bowen out on the end of the robotic arm, and he had a big heavy piece of very expensive hardware, and our robotic workstation crashed. And you know, that's not a good place to be, but we have.
Now, this is an interesting thing right here. Look how he slowly puts his arm up, and he slowly puts his arm down. Look how fast they're all moving when they move their arms and hands and stuff like that. Why is he moving so slow? Because he's trying to hide, because of the way he's standing, he's trying to hide this here. See how he's all puffed out? He doesn't want you to see his straps. His handlers are making, you know, they don't want him to see you, for him to show his straps and his harness. So, and watch how the way he puts his arm back down and the angle and how slow that he does it.
Had a backup system.
Very unnatural.
And the space station crew in a very calm, very cool-headed.
And then right back to that exact position. And look how he looks off to the side like he's getting in trouble off camera. Like they're looking at him like, why did you do that? If you notice, watch their eye movements. A lot of times they'll be looking like they're looking past the camera, looking at somebody. Like, did I screw up? Did I do something wrong? Did I say something wrong? You can clearly see his eyes looking off over here like he's looking at somebody off camera. Right after he just scratched his eye and moved all awkwardly.
But very quick response brought up that secondary workstation. And within a few minutes, we were back in business and good to go, and Steve was moving again. So, seemed a long time to Steve. But obviously being prepared.
See how she messed with her neck? Like, her hair is up far enough, it shouldn't be bothering her. But a string pulling her hair up, this is all green screened off. All the cables that you don't see, and the wires and stuff, like just pulling her hair. That's why she scratched the back of her neck the way she did. There's nothing that should be really tickling her neck.
It is the biggest thing, and it's great to
see. There's nothing there that should be tickling her neck. But if there's a string that's keeping her hair bouncing back and forth like this, her hair would come back like that and touch her neck, and it would itch her neck.
it's great to see that when everything is in order.
And you see how he's trying not to smile, he's trying not to laugh. They all are, because they know that he's lying.
And the crew reacts to their training and cool heads, and you're back in business really fast.
So let's go ahead and move to the next one. This here.
All right.
Okay. They started the whole twirling thing that they do with the twirling upside down like this, where they do a somersault, because of people like me pointing it out that they were wires and strings and CGI and green screens and cartoons and now AI. And so they started this whole thing to make it, make more people believe it or doubt it if they started not believing their model. And you'll notice too, they stand the same way as well, trying to hide the harness. You can see where their harnesses are on their shoulders. His is not as visible. You can see his. You can see his right here, right here. You can see it, and yeah, I know it says somersault astronaut try a zero gravity flip. If it was zero gravity, they would all be floating, because they have the fake gravity that they have on Earth. They say is holding everything down. Then they say it's fake, that it's zero gravity, because they so-called make false gravity, quote unquote. They can flip a switch, turn it on, and everything goes down and as on Earth. So if that's the case, they wouldn't all be down on the ground like this. They'd be floating up in the air. If it's zero gravity, how are they being down? How are they stuck to the ground? Because that's supposedly what keeps everything down on the ground on Earth. There's their theory of gravity, their fake gravity. So if this is zero gravity, they'd be floating. And then this guy here, Superman's out. He gets pulled out with the strings, with his harness. If it's zero gravity, that's what all these people should be doing. They should be going zoop and just floating around. And where's he going? Like, this shouldn't be that high. Like, if you look where this arches and you look at the videos and pictures they show of the ISS, the roof should be like not very much higher than what they are right now. So how is he, this whole tall person, zipping out of the frame?
Hey, that's about all the time we have. I got to implore upon you.
Look, he's preparing himself to get zipped out. Look at his face.
Group somersault. Can you do one for me?
Yeah, no problem.
See, he was waiting for his cue. He started to kind of go down, and then he waited till this guy said, yeah, no problem. And then he ducked down to get ready to Superman out.
I think we can do that, right?
Pew! He's straight, and then he looks back, and he looks back to make sure. See how he's looking right straight up. There's most likely a hole up here that he just got pulled out of. And that's why he's looking like he's looking, and he's looking the way he's looking to say, okay, the coast is clear. We have the room behind us to be able to fake our somersault. Watch the way he gets lifted out, guys. I mean, he even does his whole the arm up in the air like Superman. It's all a show.
I think we can do that.
Zoo
Right?
wee. That's clearly, and you can see it right here. Look, you can see it. The way their shirts are being moved and pulled, and there's straps right there. The way their pants is bunched up right there, right there, right there, right there. What? They're all usually bunched up in the same area. They have the same creases because that's where their lap straps are.
That's certainly not as graceful as it could have been.
And see how like him right here, he slowly came back down because they were slowly lowering him down with his harness.
And that's why we usually hesitate to do those, but
Well.
it's certainly fun to do.
I gotta say, at least you're having some fun up there. You're not going to the Olympics.
See how that got pulled? Right there. And I've seen a lot of them where they'll do this little flip, one guy, and he'll come down, and then the guy next to him will reach over and grab his string that you can't see because it's been green screened out, and he'll stabilize him.
With that,
Not-
keep the
Not in this video, but in another video. I've seen tons of videos and people talking about it.
day jobs, guys, or night jobs on this mission.
See right there? Right there? Those are clearly pulled up from the straps, or from the wires. You can see the strap right there. That's why his shirt's pulled out right there. That's very not natural looking.
Yeah, Miles, and I'll send you one of these bracelets.
Right there. You can see it. You see how it was moving?
I would like one. Thank you to all of you very much. Appreciate your time. I know you got a busy mission ahead. You got the spacewalk ahead. And thanks to all of you.
How are they going to send him a bracelet from space? Another one on the buoyancy pool. I will send this to you. I'll send it to you. Got me talking like them now. I will put this in the description box as well to go watch the full thing. But I want to show you a couple things because it's got a bunch of music in it too.
Environment for training and evaluating.
Look at that. That right there. Let the exit thing go off the screen. There we go. Look how this is them watching the buoyancy pool in live time. Okay. Every one of these can be doctored, especially like this one here. Look at that. That looks like a picture NASA would put out and say, look, it's the ISS spacewalk. See how dark it is right there? Like what they say space is. That right there, just that. They can put that out without really doctoring that at all and saying that's a spacewalk. They can green screen any of these, doctor them up, CGI them, AI them, and make them look like they're in space.
Procedures.
So, but I'm going to point out what I was talking about earlier about the astronaut with his helmet full of water. This gives more of what I was saying. And this is how he got his helmet full of water is in a buoyancy pool like this. This is supposed to be the ISS training facility. But watch. I'll see if I can pause it at the right time.
To minimize.
See, look. There's the outside bubble. There's in between. You can see that little separation right there because you can see in between. You can see the ISS right there. The supposedly ISS. You can see the yellow. See how it's right there? And then this is the inside bubble. And then in this particular suit, you've got another bubble right here where his head is. So the same thing with the astronaut helmets. You've got the same layering system. Except for you don't have it's not shaped exactly like this. But you've got the visor, you got they got another bubble, and then you got another bubble where the astronaut's head is. And what happened was either it wasn't sealed properly, like a mask for scuba diving, like his mask here. If that wasn't sealed properly, water would seep into that between his mask and his eyes. So that's most likely what happened. It wasn't sealed properly or a hairline crack, and it ended up filling full of water. So let's go ahead and move on. This is their zero-G plane. This is another way they use to fake space and the spacewalks and being on the ISS and stuff like that isn't green screened in a Hollywood basement somewhere.
An ordinary plane, but on an extraordinary mission. Because Novaspace's latest Airbus A310 zero-G aircraft is being used by the European Space Agency for research into conditions of microgravity, which is why all the passengers are scientists. To obtain 0G, the plane must perform a series of parabolas. Before each parabola, on the pull-up, people experience...
See, and keep that in mind too. What I pointed out in the other video where it's supposed to be zero gravity, literally the title of the video. Watch how they act here. That's what would be happening. How can they not fall? And that's another proof that gravity's fake. How are they in the ISS with zero gravity? They don't have their false gravity running. They're supposed to be a fake gravity that they manufacture, just like they do with the theory of gravity on Earth, is fake. And they're standing perfectly in the ISS without floating away. And then they can choose when they lift up. They can choose when they do their somersaults. But we need gravity here on Earth not to fly away. That doesn't make sense. But you make fun of me for believing in God's biblical flat Earth. Okay.
It's almost 2G, so their bodies will feel twice their normal weight. The pilot calls out the increasing angle, and when it reaches a specific point, they inject the plane into the parabola. Everyone on board is then in microgravity as the plane free falls up and over the top of the curve.
It's now pulled out the angle, it's 40 degrees at 50.
Now keep your eye on her. Obviously you're going to because she's in the shot. But we've all seen it where the astronauts are doing their little flip, their little sideshow to prove that they're not faking it in Hollywood basement CGI and AI and all that stuff. And then she thuds when the plane starts taking a dive or starts leveling out rather. She thuds back down. And we've all seen that. And when you're still believing in NASA's model and believing in NASA's model, I hit unpause by accident. It seems odd, but you don't understand why, But once you realize they're faking everything and NASA's model is not anywhere near correct at all, and you believe in God's biblical flat Earth, you'll see these things. You'll see why they thud down the way they do. Because they're doing stuff like this, and their buoyancy pools and green screen and wiring and harnesses and so on and so on. And so they've got a short window to do their little somersault. But when they're out of that window, they'll thud down like this. There's no longer that force there keeping them up in the air. The density and buoyancy. Okay?
Injection, that is weightlessness.
Exactly how you see astronauts move in the so-called ISS. Well, one of the ways. You can always tell once you get to seeing it, like I said, you'll tell whether it's stuff like this or it's harnesses or it's CGI or whatever.
Here I go. The scientists have 20 seconds of weightlessness to do their experiments behind me. But there will be 30 of these parabolas. So they have plenty of time, 10 minutes in fact, to do their experiments. Time to get down now because there will be a nasty thud. There we go.
And it's not as hard as when she does it, when she was holding on to the net, because even though they don't have a net, they have their harnesses. So their thud isn't as pronounced as hers, but it's similar. You can experience the same thing on like the little UFO or the UFO rides that you see at the fairs and stuff, and it gets to spinning really fast, and then you zip up when you're on the creeper, like for mechanics working on cars, and you'll zip up to the top. One, that proves gravity is not real, because gravity would still push you back down. And then if the Earth, if that's spinning that as fast as it's spinning, how much more would you be floating up, spinning as fast as the Earth's supposed to be spinning on NASA's model? If gravity can't hold you down riding a ride, that UFO ride, how is it going to hold you down spinning much, much faster, thousands of miles an hour on NASA's model? Weeble wobbling like a top. You're not being slung side to side, weeble wobbling, and you're not going up in the air from the Earth spinning. And you're not being flung off. It's common sense.
There are 12 experiments on board, including 6 by students, as part of ESA's Flying Thesis program.
Okay, if you want to go watch all this, go ahead. Then you got good old CERN with the Hadron Collider that is just as evil as NASA. I mean, their logo literally is 666. 666. That's why they're the same length. These three right here are the same length, and these are a little bit shorter. So, if you're not familiar with what the Hadron Collider is, it's a lot of people think it is the abyss spoken of in the Bible. One they always do a lot of. I got a whole video just on this alone, but they say themselves to try to put something in and bring something out. Then they always do these crazy demonic rituals before they turn the machine on. They turned it on yesterday during the eclipse. NASA shooting rockets in supposedly at the moon, at the solar eclipse rather. And then they teach similar to what NASA does, that the Big Bang, evolution, and their God particle that this machine is supposed to be replicating is a ball of energy that's not living or breathing or intelligent in any way, shape, or form. It's just the beginning of, according to them, the beginning of all life, all planets, all solar systems, all galaxies. They say they recreated this God particle, quote unquote. So again, it's the devil trying to play God. And they even use the uppercase G for the God particle. That used to never be a thing. NASA's got Goddard, again, with the capital G, the devil trying to play God, with his devil model. This is part of their devil model. They do these mock sacrifices in front of Shiva, the false pagan goddess of war is one of the things she is. Long story short, go look up certain rituals, where they try to, and there's one the CERN try to say, oh, that was just a joke. It was just a joke. It wasn't a real thing. But I believe it was, and a lot of people like me believe it was. Then every time CERN gets turned on, people are recording UFOs just showing up out of the sky, these portals opening, and demonic UFOs coming through, or a demonic box. I've seen some of them where it comes through. Could some of them be CGI fake? Yes. But I don't think all of them are. I think a majority of them aren't. And what are they trying to take out and bring back and bring something out and put something in? My question is not necessarily what they're trying to put in, but what are they trying to bring out? And that's why a lot of people think it's the abyss spoken of in the Bible that's going to be opened up. So, let's go ahead and get moved on here. And I don't care what Snopes or anybody else says, fact checkers, whatever. The European Council for the Nuclear Research, CERN, will fire up a Large Hadron Collider, the most powerful particle accelerator in the world, on Monday, and collide protons together to simulate the Big Bang. Literally right here is, Big Bang. And I know this is Forbes, but they say this is what they go to their official website, go to their official YouTube channel, and they talk about this stuff. That, they're trying to simulate the Big Bang, which I explained earlier how the Big Bang in evolution doesn't match the creation model. It does not match the Bible. It does not match God. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. I know I didn't go through a lot of these videos, but I'm trying to keep it short for time. And it's probably already pretty long by now. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. Use all the links in the About Me section. Rate, comment, subscribe. Much love. God bless. And I will see you on the next one.